Welcome to Week 3, Presentation 1. Today we're going to discuss some of the functions and roles of management. The leaders of the company will provide direction for that company. The leaders will provide managers and employees a vision of where they want the company to go. They will determine the strategies that are to be utilized to gain advantages over their rivals in competitive markets, but it is up to managers to implement how this vision will be achieved. Both good leadership and good management is required for a firm to succeed. Without one or the other, the firm will fail. There are 4 different functions of management. The first function is planning. Utilizing the vision provided by leaders, managers will determine the goals that need to be accomplished in order to achieve that vision. They will develop and establish a strategy for completing these goals. In order to achieve these goals, they need to utilize organizational skills. They will determine what tasks are to be accomplished and how they are to be accomplished. Managers have control of human resources, and using these resources, they ensure that appropriate tasks are completed. Although there is a difference between management and leadership, managers do have a leadership function. They are tasked with motivating employees. This can be done in many different ways. As a manager, you have authority over employees that work for you. You may utilize this authority to motivate employees to do what needs to be done. However, many managers lead by motivating employees without the use of coercion or authority. Managers also resolve conflict. There are many different forms of conflict. Conflict between employees, for example. When there's a disagreement between 2 employees, a manager may mediate the situation. Managers also monitor the performance of their respective departments or divisions. If a manager works in manufacturing, for example, he or she may monitor the defect and output rate. This allows managers to understand how well his or her area is performing and gives them relevant information to act accordingly. Managers have many different roles in an organization. Some interpersonal roles include acting as a figurehead, perhaps a scoutmaster that doesn't necessarily go on all the campouts, but acts as the head of a scout troop. A supervisor might be the person that gives tours of a factory to high school students instead of employees, since the supervisor might be more versed in the overall operation of the factory. When students graduate from high school or college, it is the faculty that hands out diplomas. We said that managers have a leadership function, and in this role they hire, train, motivate, and discipline employees. They are tasked with managing their respective areas, and this includes the management of human resources. Employees are who gets the job done, and managers have to ensure that the right employees are chosen for the job and are properly trained. After employees are selected and trained, it is up to managers to ensure that their jobs are completed satisfactorily. Another important role of the manager is a collector and disseminator of information. Employees rely on managers to provide information about the company and their roles in achieving company objectives. Managers collect information and disseminate it to the appropriate employees. For example, upper management might provide information to middle management regarding the goals and objectives of the company. It's up to middle management to ensure that the frontline managers and employees understand what these goals and objectives are so they can all be accomplished. Managers make decisions. They might be tasked with initiating and overseeing entrepreneurial projects. Many companies are very innovative, and a lot of this innovation comes from the employees and management. Managers are typically tasked with new projects for the company. They handle disturbances and take corrective action in response to problems, and this might include human resource issues or production line issues if the manager happens to work in manufacturing. They allocate resources assigned to them. They ensure that capital is properly utilized to maximize efficiency. This capital can include human resources as well as physical and financial resources. When a manager is in charge of financial resources, he or she must ensure that money is properly utilized and not wasted. They are also negotiators for their departments. They bring forth issues regarding their departments and negotiate with other departments to gain advantages for their own areas. Managers have many different skills. Many managers are hired from within. They are promoted from the bottom. Recently, Walmart announced a new CEO. The CEO started out as an hourly associate 30 years ago. Over the last 3 decades, he worked his way up through the ranks and through the departments into executive management. He now runs the entire company. Promoting from within is a popular strategy for ensuring that management understands a corporate culture. A manager that is hired from outside the company may not understand the company's policy or company's culture. Promoting from within also ensures that managers have the technical skills needed to do their jobs and understand what needs to be done to achieve the goals of the company. Another benefit of promoting from within is that employees and lower level managers are motivated to do a good job because they know that they may end up getting promoted. Can you imagine starting at Walmart knowing that one day you could run a company that employs over 2 million people? A mechanic on a production line might be promoted to management because he or she understands the physical capabilities of that production line. This knowledge will allow the manager to make decisions based on his or her understanding of that production line. Managers work with people. This means they have to have human skills and be interpersonally competent. In order to properly manage people, managers have to be able to communicate and interact with people. Managers may possess the technical skill to make decisions for their departments, but if they cannot work with people, what kind of managers will this make them? Keep in mind that the important part of management is managing human resources. Managers must also possess conceptual skills, the ability to analyze and diagnose complex situations. Managers make decisions every day, and in order to make the right decisions, they need to be able to analyze all of the factors involved in these decisions. They need to be able to rationally process and interpret information to ensure that their decisions are the best ones for the company. There are 4 different activities associated with management. Traditional management is characterized by decision making, planning, and controlling. This is typically what we think of when we think of management. Another very important managerial activity is communication. This is simply the exchange and processing of information. One of the important roles of managers is in the collection and dissemination of information. For example, collecting information from upper management to disseminate to workers on a production floor so that the workers have an understanding of the direction the company is going in. Workers do have a desire to know how the company is doing and where the company is headed because they have a vested interest in the success of the company. It is up to managers to ensure that they have this information. Human resource management is another important managerial activity. Managers are in charge of people, and motivating people is an important activity when it comes to ensuring that the company is successful. Staffing departments is also important, and optimization of human resources needs to be achieved in order to minimize cost and maximize productivity. Of course, people need to be trained and sometimes disciplined, although the trend today is to coach employees, teach them what needs to be done and the correct way to do it instead of resorting to disciplinary action. Networking consists of socializing and politicking. This is a legitimate managerial activity. Managers socialize and network with other managers and engage in political activity to benefit their departments. These pie charts show a manager's allocation of activities by time. We talked about traditional human resource management, communication, and networking. Average managers spend about an equal amount of time in each of these areas. But if you notice, successful managers spend nearly half their time networking, socializing, and politicking. Successful management is defined as that which results in upward mobility. The manager is promoted through the ranks. This makes sense in that the managers that get promoted are those that are well known, and those that socialize and politic more than others are going to make their name known. Effective managers spend much less time socializing and politicking, but a lot more time communicating. This emphasizes the importance of communication. For companies to run effectively, there must be good communication, and managers that spend more time communicating than politicking, for example, will run a more effective department. Their departments will run more efficiently and profitably. However, this does mean that they spend less time socializing and politicking and may not get promoted as quickly as those successful managers. We've discussed some of the functions and roles of managers today. Managers are extremely important in the success of any company. They take the vision handed down by leaders and ensure that this vision is implemented and that the company heads in the right direction. Thank you for joining me today.